Frequently asked question, California's Office of Administrative Law. What's the responsibility of California's Office of Administrative Law, otherwise known as OAL? It is responsible for reviewing regulations and regulatory changes proposed by state agencies and departments for their legal and procedural compliance before those regulations can become law. Where is OAL provided for in state law? It's found in Government Code Title II, Division 3, Chapter 3.5. What did the legislature intend when they created OAL? Government Code Section 11340.1a explains, the legislature therefore declares that it is in the public interest to establish an Office of Administrative Law, which shall be charged with the orderly review of adopted regulations. It is the intent of the legislature that the purpose of such review shall be to reduce the number of administrative regulations and to improve the quality of those regulations which are adopted. It is the intent of the legislature that agencies shall actively seek to reduce the unnecessary regulatory burden on private individuals and entities by substituting performance standards for prescriptive standards wherever performance standards can be reasonably expected to be as effective and less burdensome, and that this substitution shall be considered during the course of the agency rulemaking process. It is the intent of the legislature that neither the Office of Administrative Law nor the court should substitute its judgment for that of the rulemaking agency as expressed in the substantive content of adopted regulations. It is the intent of the legislature that while the Office of Administrative Law will be part of the executive branch of state government, that the office work closely with and upon request report directly to the legislature in order to accomplish regulatory reform in California. What does Government Code Section 11340.2 provide? It establishes the Office of Administrative Law in state government within the Government Operations Agency. Who oversees OAL? It's under the direction and control of an executive officer who is the director of OAL. There's also a deputy director. What are the requirements for the director and deputy director positions? State law requires the director and deputy director to have the same qualifications as a hearing officer and to be appointed by the governor subject to confirmation of the state senate. What does Government Code Section 11340.4 provide? Well, it authorizes OAL and directs OAL to do specified tasks, including one, study the subject of administrative rulemaking in all its aspects. Two, in the interest of fairness, uniformity, and the expedition of business, submit its suggestions to the various agencies. Report its recommendations to the governor and legislature at the commencement of each general session. Those are the three. What is OAL required to do? It's required to ensure that agency regulations are clear, necessary, legally valid, and available to the public. It's responsible for reviewing regulations proposed by over 200 state agencies, departments, boards, bureaus, and commissions for their compliance with the standards set forth in the state's Administrative Procedure Act found in the Government Code. When was the OAL established? It was on July 1st, 1980. Are there other training programs offered by OAL? Yes, it assists state regulatory agencies through a formal training program, as well as through other less formal methods to understand and comply with the APA. How are perceived regulations addressed by OAL? OAL reviews petitions challenging alleged underground regulations, which are those rules of general application that are issued by state agencies which meet the definition of a regulation in the APA, but were not adopted pursuant to the APA rulemaking process and are not expressly exempt by statute. And finally, what are other responsibilities of OAL? Among others, they oversee the publication and distribution in print and on the internet of the California Code of Regulations, which contain the over 60,000 regulations today in effect in California, as well as what's called the California Regulatory Notice Register.